Hey, what's up guys, Rev here. So we spent a lot of time talking about translations, whether it's in manga or anime. After all, for the vast majority of its international consumers, anime and manga must be translated from Japanese into whatever language they are fluent in. It's a pretty simple concept. However, it's one that also requires a great deal of integrity. Consumers are relying on publishers to provide accurate translations made in good faith. So it's no surprise that people get quite upset when translators at companies like Crunchyroll or Funimation decide to mess with this process. Whether it's shoehorning in political messages that completely change the feel of a scene, or even changing simple things like the choice of verbs or honorifics when it comes to how they translate Japanese titles and terms, it all has an impact. Any of these changes can alter the meaning originally intended by the Japanese creators. And of course, some things really are difficult to translate, but when selfish intentions or just plain laziness corrupts this process, it breaks that chain of trust that the consumer has in the translation provider, which is a big deal to most. Surprisingly, today's story does not involve the usual suspects, but rather a more niche group, this time with the German publishing division of the American-based company, Tokyopop. Its sister company in Germany provides German translations of licensed Japanese content, and is one of the largest provider of manga translations for German speakers. Now, of course, it's a bit niche as I said, but these types of videos are always more representative of a larger theme. In the past, we've talked about problems affecting anime and manga consumers in many different countries, because what's going on in one place is often part of a relatable experience for many others as well. So recently, Tokyopop Germany has been under fire after a recent interview with its general manager stated that the publisher's recent light novel lineup, which includes Rising of the Shield Hero, Konosuba, and Overlord, is translated from English instead of Japanese. As a company who was founded on the motto 100% authentic manga, this is not a good look at all. Now, why is this a big deal? Well, it relates to that sense of trust in translators that is so vital to readers. And this practice of translating English translations to German translations is not a respected practice for some obvious reasons. This concept involves the use of pivot language, where the translator bases a translation on an intermediary translation instead of the original language. The problem with this is that by adding layers of translations, the meaning gets more and more jumbled over time. Think about it like the kids' game telephone, where you have one original message passed on to the next person, and then that person relays it to the next, and so on until you reach the end of the line. Almost always, the original message is different than the one received at the end of the line. An example would be the first message is, "Blue thing bad," and by the time it reaches the end, it's changed to, "Blue thing bad and should be put down out of her misery like a worthless animal." While both messages are in fact true, it's not the same as the original message. And part of the reason provided for this use of pivot language was that their translators may not be quote-unquote comfortable with handling content or format of a Japanese light novel, or may lack the appropriate background, which I find to be a sorry excuse. As Japanese is the third most popular form of translation in German literature, ultimately I think this is just a way to save time by cutting corners. But the unfair part is that the only person who loses in this scenario is the reader. They don't get the authentic translation that they were promised, instead they get some gargled down version that's been affected by multiple layers of translations. It's sad to see, but I'm sure this is not the only company doing this to their manga translations. So that's gonna do it for this video. Let me know what you guys think about this practice down below in the comments section. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.